Hey guys, Ruminating Reaper here. So I've just finished watching Frankenstein on Netflix. This is of course the latest film from Guillermo del Toro, the latest in a long line of adaptations of Mary Shelley's original novel, and something of a passion project for Del Toro. He's been developing this for like a decade now, I believe. Initially at Universal, before they ultimately moved in the direction of the Dark Universe. How'd that one work out? And look, I know we love to moan about Netflix being the killer of cinemas, but sometimes they're a necessary evil in getting these passion projects made. And obviously they've done good work with Del Toro, having got Pinocchio made and ultimately a Best Animated Feature Oscar win. So I had faith that partnership would deliver again. But does the end result deliver on a decade's worth of passion? Let's find out. So the film, of course, tells the story of Dr. Victor Frankenstein, an ambitious scientist who becomes obsessed with being able to control the concepts of life and death, which he intends to do by creating a perfect living organism, using different human body parts to create this new specimen. However, when the creature is ultimately given life, it begins to develop intelligence beyond even Frankenstein's wildest ambitions, as it slowly begins to break free from his control. So obviously with Frankenstein being a story that has been oft-told in cinema across the centuries, each new iteration of it will very much reflect the specific sensibilities of the filmmaker behind it. In this case, this is unquestionably a Guillermo del Toro film, and I think how much you enjoy it depends on how much you gel with his sensibilities as a filmmaker. Me, myself, as someone who is a fan of Del Toro's other films, I can safely say that I really liked this. So obviously the narrative framing device is a really interesting one, this sort of Rashomon-like one, telling the story from a couple different perspectives, Victor and the monster, utilizing every second of that massive 2.5 hour runtime to deliver these fully rounded explorations of the set of circumstances that led these two to become the way they are. The first half obviously focuses on Victor and his relationship with his father and how that, shaped his ambitions as a scientist and his obsession with control, while the second half obviously focuses on the monster and how, Victor's very controlling nature shapes their relationship and indeed the monster's relationship with the larger world around him. It's all very interesting stuff with a lot of really cool ideas at play here. Obviously there's the sort of cautionary tale of the danger of playing God and man's obsession with trying to control the uncontrollable. And also, sort of interesting ideas around nature versus nurture, and repeated looks into the concepts of life and death, with obviously mentions of stuff like memento moris and repeated images involving dark angels of death. It's all really interesting stuff. But at its core, what it is that very Guillermo del Toro thing of, finding the complex emotional beauty in deeply imperfect figures, and it just makes it all so richly compelling to watch. Now, perhaps its delivery of some of these ideas can be a bit on the nose. There's some kind of clunky dialogue here and there, particularly, only monsters play God, and, you are the monster. It's very much that sort of Garth Marenghi thing of I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards. But still, there's a lot of really, really interesting, weighty stuff at play here that makes it all just so interesting to watch. And through it all, Del Toro's sensibilities really shine here. Not least in the actual craft itself, because goddamn man, this thing is a feast for the eyes. Obviously, there's a lot of, really cool gothic set design, which again, Del Toro's flair for that really shines through. There's a lot of really cool, uses of stuff like miniatures and, practical effects for the different prototypes of the monster, and some, of course, really cool makeup for the actual creature itself. Not a traditional design you'd expect for Frankenstein, but I think it works really well in showcasing this creature, stitched together from different human parts. It's unconventional, but works really well. And of course, there's a score from Alexandre Desplat, heavy on the violins, that really enhances the gothic and at times kind of whimsical vibe of the film. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, admittedly, there are a couple points where the digital effects kind of stick out a bit. There are some effect shots in here, particularly CGI fire and some CGI animals that do kind of stick out. And there are a couple of noticeable green screen backdrops. But for the most part, man, this thing is just an absolute, feat of craftsmanship. And yeah, it just is so wonderfully brought to life with such a sense of scale, with, vibrant, colourful cinematography. But of course, what drives this, ambitious narrative scope is, of course, yes, that human core. And the performances here are great. Obviously, we have Oscar Isaac as Victor, and he is fantastic, as someone who's, ambitions and obsession with control drives him to the point of madness. And yeah, Isaac is great here. He is a commanding, magnetic screen presence. And equally fantastic is Jacob Elordi as the monster. Now, initially, this role was actually meant for Andrew Garfield, and I have no doubt Garfield would have been great. He's a brilliant actor, but Elordi really makes the role his own. He, obviously is quite a deeply pained and tragic character, in his early scenes sort of shambling about with little knowledge of the world, but by the end of the film, learns more of the world and, and is, driven to a state of rage, obviously by the abusive, controlling nature of his creator, but also, discovers the beauty of human kindness, developing quite a complex worldview. And Elordi really sells this, wonderful, complex arc. He absolutely crushes it, and it really solidifies him as one to watch. Everyone else is great as well, in fairness, including Mia Goth as Elizabeth, the bride-to-be of Victor's brother, William, who the creature actually finds a bit of solace in. Yeah, she's a wonderful screen presence, as is Christoph Waltz as her uncle, Mr. Harlander, who becomes a key backer in Victor's experiments. And look, it's Christoph Waltz. You don't need me to tell you that he is great here. And there's a few others as well, including David Bradley as a blind old man who kindly takes the creature in and helps him learn about the world. And also Charles Dance as Victor's father, who, is a very methodical and quite controlling man that shapes Victor's, obsessive nature. Everyone here is great, and their command of this, deeply compelling human core just really drives the film along, as it builds to a climax that brings its two main perspectives to a head. Confronting these two in ways that are compelling and, deeply emotionally resonant, a really fittingly powerful climax that serves a lot of the rich and compelling ideas at play. Overall, Frankenstein is, without a doubt, a Guillermo del Toro production with fantastic craftsmanship and rich, emotionally compelling thematic ideas, driven by fantastic performances from Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi. Out of 10, Frankenstein gets an 8.5. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen Frankenstein? What did you think of it? What is your favourite version of the story on screen? What is your favourite Guillermo del Toro film? And are you looking forward to seeing what he has in store next? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.